Welcome to the Deep Dive. We plunge into fascinating topics and try to extract those hidden gems of understanding. Today, we're diving into a figure that has, well, captivated, terrified, and honestly confused humanity for millennia. We're talking about the devil.
Right, a really complex figure.
It is complex, often misunderstood, but there's this deep, almost uncanny fascination humans seem to have.
There really is, that tension.
Yeah, that constant tension between choosing good and, that undeniable temptation to do what's not.
Exactly.
So our mission for this deep dive is to really unpack the psychology of the devil.
Right, not just the surface level.
Exactly, not just as a mythological or, say, religious figure, but as a profound psychological phenomenon, something that influences our lives every single day.
Absolutely.
We've dug through a stack of sources, and they're going to offer some, I think, truly surprising insights into this ancient concept, helping us understand why it still matters now.
And this deep dive, it isn't just about the what, is it? It's more about the why it matters. We'll be connecting historical, mythological, and psychological perspectives to sort of illuminate how this concept, the devil, evil, shapes both our inner landscape and, well, the world around us.
Okay.
Ultimately, truly understanding the potential for evil within ourselves, that's absolutely crucial if we're going to avoid, falling prey to its effect.
Right. Okay, so let's start unpacking a common human tendency. You see it all the time. Our inclination to immediately denounce the evildoer.
Jump to condemnation.
Yeah. Rather than trying to understand the roots of that behavior, our sources really highlight a core psychological insight here.
Which is?
That when we identify solely with good and deny our own capacity for evil, we inevitably project it onto others.
Yes. The projection mechanism.
It's that powerful idea, isn't it? When you point a finger at someone, 3 fingers point back at you.
Exactly. And the reality is every single one of us is capable of evil.
That's a tough pill to swallow sometimes.
It can be. But the proper moral position isn't denying that capacity. It's knowing evil and choosing not to do it.
Okay. So awareness and choice.
Precisely. When we remain unconscious of our own potential for malevolence, the devil, you could say, as an autonomous psychological power, can actually take control.
How so?
It becomes visible in our action, our attitude, even if we ourselves can't see it. It sort of runs the show from the shadows.
And this idea of, malevolent entity, it isn't new at all. It has really deep historical and mythological roots.
Oh, definitely. People have believed in malevolent, supernatural figures throughout history.
What's truly striking, I found, is how the ancient Greeks conceptualized daemons.
The daemons, yes.
They weren't all bad, were they? They were divided into good, the kathodaemon.
Right, sort of like a guardian angel figure mediating between humans and the divine.
And then the evil one, the kakademon.
The adversarial demon, yeah.
And our sources explain eudaimonia, that state of, good spirit and fulfillment that happens when our inner daemon is in good order.
But, predictably, the kakademon disrupts this path towards wholeness. It throws a wrench in the work.
Okay. And if we connect this to the broader mythological picture?
Well, the devil figure also resembles the fauns and satyrs of Greek and Roman mythology.
The companions of Dionysus.
Exactly. Associated with worldly pleasures, wildness, that sort of thing. And then there's the Greek god Pan.
Pan, linked to wilderness, goats, shepherds.
Right. And fertility. But what's fascinating here is that the word panic actually derives from Pan.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. He was believed to cause mysterious sounds in lonely places, leading to contagious fear in herds or sudden overwhelming fear in people.
Wow.
And this ties into a crucial psychological distinction. When you're afraid, you generally know what threatens you, right? Your perceptions get sharper.
Okay, yeah. Focus.
But in anxiety, you feel threatened without knowing what steps to take. Your perceptions tend to blur, become vague. It leads to a sense of helplessness.
That makes sense. So Pan is linked to that more primal overwhelm.
In a way, yes. And speaking of Pan and chaos...
John Milton.
Exactly. The English poet John Milton coined the word pandemonium.
For the capital of hell in Paradise Lost.
And that word still perfectly defines the kind of destructive confusion the devil can cause in our world, and maybe more importantly, within ourselves.
That internal chaos. Okay, so as we trace this idea of inner evil and division, we see its echoes really powerfully in biblical symbolism.
Especially around temptation and blame.
It's interesting how sheep are consistently seen as, loyal followers, while goats are often depicted as disobedient or
rebel.
And this imagery actually played a role in ancient ritual. Goats were used as bearers of the sins of the nation.
Right, they were led into the wilderness.
To supposedly carry away evil. And that, of course, is the origin of the term scapegoat.
And psychologically, scapegoating is a process where individuals or groups are unfairly singled out. They take unwarranted blame.
Why do we do that?
Well, it often happens unconsciously. It's a way to hide one's own defects, frequently because of repressed shadow traits.
The shadow again. Things like
aspects of ourselves we don't want to acknowledge. Envy, anger, guilt, lust, things like that.
Right.
Carl Jung made a profound statement about it. He noted the deeper meaning of Christ being crucified between two thieves.
Seeing them as
redeemer and scapegoats in their own way. What's truly insightful is how shadow projection ties one to others in hatred.
How so?
Common targets are often lower classes, racial or national minority, or even other faith. It's a way of unconsciously saying they embody the evil I refuse to see in myself.
Wow, that's powerful. So what does this all mean for us?
Jung's concept of the shadow is absolute.
Okay, remind us what that is.
It's the unknown part of ourselves, and when it's ignored, it becomes the dark side of our personality.
Right.
Jung argued that none of us stands outside humanity's black collective shadow. It's a truism of life, really, that when negative aspects of ourselves aren't recognized as belonging to us internally,
they seem to attack us from the outside.
Exactly. They appear to act against us externally. Think about it. When we do something unexpected, out of character, say.
I don't know what the devil got.
Precisely. In a way, the devil becomes a useful scapegoat for our own unrecognized impulse. It lets us avoid personal responsibility.
That's a bit uncomfortable.
It can be.
Wait.
And on the flip side of that, you have savior projection.
Thought.
It's where blind adoration of a leader can lead to a kind of God complex for them. These leaders become symbolic carriers of the unconscious hopes and fears of millions, often because they promise to save the nation from all its problems.
And that can be just as dangerous as shadow projection.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Because it denies both the leader's own humanity and the people's responsibility for themselves.
Okay, makes sense. Let's delve a bit into the devil's nature and Satan, Lucifer, Beelzebub, Prince of Darkness.
The list goes on.
He's known as the adversary, the accuser, the tempter, the deceiver, and maybe most the one who divides. Our sources emphasize his intelligence and wit, too, making him a truly dangerous father of all.
And what's truly illuminating here is the etymology, the word devil itself.
Where does it come from?
It comes from the Greek diabolos, meaning one who divides. And the Greek verb diabolane literally means to tear apart.
Okay.
Now, contrast that with its antonym, symbolic.
Which means?
It comes from symboline, meaning to put together or unite. Rollo May, the American existentialist psychologist.
Yes.
He wrote that the symbolic draws together, integrates individuals within themselves and with their group. The diabolic, in contrast, disintegrates and tears apart.
So at its core, the devil is a force of separation, division.
That's the fundamental idea.
And building on that idea of division, Rollo May identified some really striking characteristics of the diabolic that, wow, they resonate so strongly even today.
He did. 3 main ones.
What were they?
First, the love of nudity, which he saw as speaking to the overall sexualization of culture. Exacerbated now, of course, by technology providing easy access to unfulfilled desires. But it's not just about sex. It's about a stripping away of deeper meaning.
Right. And the second.
Second is violence, tragically evident in some of the most devastating events of the 20th century and, well, still prevalent today, unfortunately.
And the third.
And finally, there's division, which, let's be honest, is occurring in almost every facet of our lives right now.
Race, gender, religion, politics, economic, it's everywhere.
Exactly. This concept of the demonic is really an inversion of order. The growth of the Western view of, say, exploitation, materialism, man's ego being at the center, that's seen as a byproduct of the diabolic.
Leading to
man's alienation from himself, from deeper meaning.
And perhaps most relevant to our times, the devil can appear as virtual reality, promising a utopia outside.
Or as artificial intelligence, yeah. Promising superior knowledge but lacking consciousness, empathy.
And this division isn't just external, between groups or ideas.
No, it occurs internally too, as seen in cases of split personality.
Like when Jesus asked the Gerasene demoniac his name.
And received that chilling reply, "My name is Legion, for we are many."
Yeah, a powerful image of that inner fragmentation.
It really...
Now, making a deal with the devil, that's such a universal theme. You see it everywhere in popular.
Absolutely. A classic trope.
Often, this deal is struck at a cross. Why there?
Symbolically, the crossroads represents liminality, that space where two realms, the physical and the spiritual, kind of touch or overlap. A place of decision.
Okay. And the mortal typically desires some worldly good.
Youth, love, knowledge, wealth, fame, power, the usual suspects.
But in exchange, they have to sell their soul.
The ultimate price.
This is famously exemplified in the German legend of Faust.
Right. Johann Georg Faust, the alchemist, astrologer, magician.
And in the early tales, he's just damned, isn't he?
Pretty much. Irrevocably damned for preferring human knowledge and material gain over divine wisdom. It's the classic Faustian bargain.
An irresistible offer made, but with a profound cost.
But Goethe's Faust, the famous play, presents a much more nuanced story. It gives us a really powerful psychological lesson.
Well, so?
Well, Faust, a scholar, becomes deeply depressed by the limitations of human knowledge. He turns to magic to discover ultimate truth.
But it doesn't work.
His attempts fail, and he becomes desperate. That's when Mephistopheles, the devil's servant, appears.
And makes the wager.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mephistopheles will serve Faust on Earth, show him all the pleasures of life. But
A cat.
the catch is, if Faust ever experiences a moment of ultimate bliss, a moment he wishes would last forever,
He instantly dies and serves the devil in hell.
right? And Faust, convinced he'll never be satisfied, accepts the deal. He thinks he can't possibly.
But then...
Now here's the truly surprising twist. Faust is saved by God's grace, even after experiencing a moment of bliss.
How? Why?
Because he found his happiness not just in, say, personal accomplishment or giving into lust or idleness,
But in
progress and striving for justice, prosperity, love, improving the lives of his people, this constant striving, this never-ending engagement with life and its challenges that ultimately saves his soul.
Wow. So the profound insight here is that true spiritual progress isn't about avoiding our inner devil, but actually engaging with them.
Exactly. Even temptation can become a crucible for growth.
The paradox is that the devil's relentless attempts to tempt Faust actually led to his spiritual enlightenment and ultimate self.
Quite something. There's a powerful quote from the poet Rilke that captures,
What's that?
"If my devils are to leave me, I'm afraid my angels will take flight as well."
Meaning we need both.
It suggests that our inner devils, which resemble our shadow, retain contact with the lost depths of the soul. They can provide hints for self-realization.
Like that saying, a man that casts no shadow is the devil himself.
Precisely. We see this in that old novella, Peter Schlemiel.
The man who sold his shadow.
Yes. And he was shunned, lost his connection to his own humanity. The shadow, the darkness, is part of being whole.
There's also that intriguing anecdote about the Italian violinist Tartini.
Ah, yes. Giuseppe Tartini and the Devil's Trill.
Tell us about that.
He famously had a dream where the devil appeared and played music so wonderful, so unearthly, that Tartini felt completely captivated.
Okay.
When he woke up, he immediately grabbed his violin to try and replicate it.
And could he?
Well, his own composition, which he named The Devil's Trill, was considered the best he ever wrote, but he felt it was so inferior to what he'd heard in the dream
Wow.
that he actually considered abandoning music forever. It speaks to that powerful, sometimes unsettling inspiration that can come from grappling with our darker, wilder side.
That's fascinating.
And what's interesting here is that the devil can be seen as an archetype.
Okay, explain that.
An archetype is a collectively inherited pattern of behavior. And like all archetype, the devil fascinates us because it has numinosity.
Numinosity, like awe-inspiring.
Yes, that awe-inspiring, almost spiritual quality. Think about standing before a vast ocean or a towering mountain, that feeling of profound wonder and maybe a little bit of fear.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
That's touching on numinosity. But what's crucial to understand is that identifying too closely with an archetype can lead to psychic destruction.
How?
It can cause ego inflation. Our sense of identity becomes excessively amplified, leading to delusion, megalomania, a self-destructive path.
Like getting carried away.
Exactly. Archetypes are primitive, they're close to our instincts, and they aren't necessarily concerned with ethical human values.
So it's our job.
It's the ego's duty to bring a sense of moral responsibility to these powerful archetypal images. The key is integration, not identification.
Integrate, don't identify. Got it.
Failure to understand these inner forces or shirking that ethical responsibility, well, it deprives us of our wholeness and imposes a painful fragmentariness on our lives. We become disconnected.
Okay, let's shift back to the Bible. Unpack the voice of temptation in the Garden of...
Which was later explicitly equated with the devil, yes.
The temptation was to eat the forbidden fruit from the tree of the knowledge of good and...
With the promise that Adam and Eve would become like God.
The danger here seems to lie in half-truths. So...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Promising good, but deliberately hiding the evil consequences.
And the outcome, as we all know, was shame, guilt, anxiety, with pride being the original sin that led fall from paradise. Can we draw parallels elsewhere?
We can draw a parallel with the Greek myth of Prometheus stealing fire for mankind and being punished by the gods.
Ah, right. Similar pattern.
Psychologically, we can view these myths not just as stories, but as perennial patterns expressing the human condition. They represent the development of human consciousness.
And that development is always followed by...
feelings of transgression, guilt, punishment. It seems to be part of the process. We're born in a state of original wholeness, like paradise.
But then we grow up.
We grow, become self-aware, acquire an ego, and experience disintegration, a fall from paradise.
But you mentioned something called felix culpa.
Yes, felix culpa, or a fortunate fall. What this means psychologically is that sometimes a period of breakdown or disintegration like the fall isn't just negative.
It can be good.
It can actually be a necessary condition, a catalyst for self-awareness, and ultimately for putting ourselves back together in a stronger, more integrated way. You have to fall apart to come together better.
Okay, now let's explore the differing meanings behind Lucifer and Satan. They aren't quite the same, are they?
No, they represent different aspects. Let's start with Lucifer.
Lucifer, the light bringer.
It's the Latin name for the morning star, which is actually the planet Venus, visible just before sunrise.
Okay.
Mythologically, this morning star was interpreted as a proud, heavenly being striving for the highest seat, only to be cast down.
And this connects to the Bible.
The book of Isaiah contains a reference to the morning star. Although it was originally about a king of Babylon, it was later allegorized as Satan's fall due to pride.
So pride is the key sin here.
Pride is seen as the major sin that caused the devil and his angels to rebel against God and be thrown out of heaven. This is further clarified in the apocalyptic book of Revelation,
Which describes
a war in heaven. The archangel Michael and his angels fight against the dragon, who is the devil.
and the outcome.
This battle results in a third of the angels being hurled to earth as fallen.
Now, what's interesting or maybe confusing is that Jesus is also described as the bright morning star in Revelation.
That's right. And the significance there is that the devil's light is merely a poor imitation counterfeit.
Ah, okay. Which fits with him being a deceiver.
Exactly. It's no coincidence that the devil often disguises himself as an angel of light, part of the deception.
Okay, so that's Lucifer, the fallen light associated with pride. Now for Satan, what is that name?
Satan means adversary or accuser.
And this is really powerfully illustrated in the book of Job.
Absolutely. Job is God's most faithful servant, righteous, blessed with everything.
And Satan's role.
Satan's role is to test Job's piety by taking away all his blessing, crucially, with God's express permission.
Right. God allows it.
Yeah, and Job suffers immensely, loses his family, his wealth, his health. Yet, through it all, he maintains his unwavering faith.
But he does question God, doesn't he? His friends accuse him.
His friends accuse him of sin, believing his suffering must be deserved. But Job, knowing his conscience is clear, actually berates God for what he sees as disproportionate, unjustified wrath.
And God's response.
God answers Job from a whirlwind, describing the complexity of the world. It's not black and white. It contains both order and chaos, symbolized by the mythical creatures Behemoth and Leviathan.
And Job's conclusion.
Job ultimately trusts God's wisdom, despite his suffering and lack of ease.
What's the deeper significance of the book?
It's profound. It arguably represents an advance in humanity's self-conscious in relation to the divine.
How so compared to Adam?
Unlike Adam and Eve's expulsion, Job shows that knowledge of good and evil can be fruitful when human free will combines with a deeper trust in the divine mystery.
And Satan's role is different.
Critically different. In Job, Satan acts in agreement with God, not behind his back like the serpent in paradise.
Okay.
This whole process, initiated by Job's righteousness and his willingness to grapple honestly with suffering, it pushes the divine itself into a transformation.
God transforms.
Towards empathy, love, a new kind of relationship with humanity, and ultimately this perspective suggests towards his incarnation as Christ. The struggle changed everything.
Wow. Okay, so Christ's crucifixion then is the ultimate tragedy.
The worst punishment on the most undeserving.
The devil must have thought he'd won.
He undoubtedly celebrated that apparent victory, but in reality, it was the moment of his ultimate defeat because of Christ's resurrection.
And there's the harrowing of hell.
Yes, the period between crucifixion and resurrection, where Christ is said to have descended into the underworld to bring salvation to the souls held captive there.
Like Dante's journey.
Dante's Divine Comedy parallels this, beautifully portraying our own necessary journey through our personal hell to gain self-knowledge, as Jung put it.
Yes.
Christ had to become his antichrist, his underworldly brother, for heaven to be possible.
Yeah.
It's about integrating all aspects to achieve wholeness.
Okay, so bringing this back to us, how do we, invite the demonic into our lives? Is it always conscious?
Not usually. Our sources suggest that sin is like an open wound in the spirit.
Is it vulnerability?
Exactly, a point through which the demonic can influence our mind. When we metaphorically tell God or our own moral boundaries to leave our lives,
we inadvertently invite the devil in.
Yes, and he then presents himself as an ally. It's often a subtle, insidious process.
Which is why Satanism is often described as evil disguised as good.
Precisely. The demonic is often hidden in plain sight. Think about the message. God, from this perspective, often appears restrictive. Do this because it will do you good.
Right. Rules and consequences.
The devil, on the other hand, whispers things like, just do what makes you happy, or you are the god of yourself.
Which leads to
ego inflation, pride, and ultimately a strange reversal of roles. Before sin, God might seem like the accuser, the devil the defender, offering freedom.
But after sin,
God becomes the defender, offering redemption, and the devil becomes the accuser, highlighting our failure. It's a masterful trick.
So how is the diabolic invited? Indirectly?
Mostly indirectly, yeah. Through actions that lead to an increased susceptibility to its influence, often unconscious, conscious demonic subjection cults, literal deals that's much rarer.
And what about things like possession?
Well, there are what are called extraordinary activities of the demonic infestation, vexation, possession. But our focus here is really on the psychological activities, the more common struggles.
Okay.
It's important to note the blurry line, though, between demonic behavior and mental health issues.
Right. How do you tell the difference?
It can be incredibly difficult. One source even suggested, perhaps partly tongue-in-cheek, that one has nothing to lose by visiting both a psychologist and a priest. It speaks to the complex, multi-layered nature of these experiences.
Okay. So zeroing in on temptation, our sources call it the ordinary activity of the devil.
Yes, the real everyday threat for most people.
How does it work? What's the pattern?
It typically begins with deception, promising good but delivering evil.
A half-truth again.
Exactly. Then it creates division or inner conflict within ourselves. It paralyzes our capacity to choose freely, and then it spirals us downward into despair.
And when caught in that spiral,
People often look for substitute, pleasure, diversion, which can easily lead to addiction.
is that what hell is psychologically?
Hell can be understood as a state of mind where one is so completely abandoned to a sin or an addiction that they cannot act independently of it. Think of the difference between someone who occasionally chooses to get drunk and an alcoholic who has lost the power to choose.
Okay. Loss of freedom.
Yes. What starts as something small, seemingly under control, becomes a problem that takes complete control. This leads to obsessive behavior, irrational thoughts, rumination, self-blame.
A vicious cycle.
A vicious cycle where what was believed to be freedom becomes a prison. The devil, metaphor, filters our perception with despair, creating oppression, alienation, and eventually a loss of meaning or desire to live.
That sounds bleak, but there's hope, right? How do we outwit the devil?
Well, our sources suggest he cannot read our thoughts like an omniscient God, but he is an excellent observer of our weak watches.
So he knows our vulnerability.
Yes, but think about fairy tales. How does the fool often outwit the devil?
Usually by accident or through innocence.
Often unintentionally, yeah, because they possess a purity of heart and incorruptibility. The key for us isn't necessarily being a fool, but using our identified weaknesses to our advantage. By understanding our own vulnerabilities, we can prevent them from becoming trapped. Awareness is protection.
Okay. And how does Jung connect this to psychology?
For Jung, one way the devil can be represented is as a neurosis.
A neurosis.
Yes. The grotesque and sinister side of the unconscious that remains savage, untamed when we haven't grappled with it. Our inner devils can be equated with the autonomous shadow.
The shadow acting on its own.
Exactly. And this rejection of the shadow often begins way back in childhood. Our animal instincts get punished. The superego develops.
Leading to repression.
Leading to repression, yeah. By denying our dark side, we neglect half of our existence as human beings.
So accepting evil.
Accepting evil means accepting our human totality, centering not just on the ego or conscious self, but on the deeper unifying self.
Which includes the shadow.
Which includes the shadow.
Interestingly, the Tarot's Devil card offers a very different symbolism, doesn't it? It's not just pure evil.
Not at all. It's depicted often as a hermaphroditic figure, goat horns, bat wings, talon, but look closer.
What's there?
Its arms often bear the Latin words solve, meaning separate, and coagula, meaning reunite.
Solve e coagula.
Exact. Symbolizing the alchemical max, as above, so below. This union of opposites can appear devilish, especially to a very one-sided traditional Christian mentality. It highlights how a limited worldview can perceive wholeness itself as inherently evil or dangerous.
It's fascinating. It ties into the idea of the one-sided Western image of God.
It does. In classical Judaism, Yahweh contained both light and dark. There's that explicit statement in Isaiah, I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil.
Both sides were acknowledged.
Yeah, but in later Christianity, God became wholly good. Satan was relegated, split off, effectively amputating God's left hand, as some might.
But then Christ's incarnation changed.
In this psychological view, yes. God becomes conscious through humanity, having to discriminate between good and evil within experience. Christ severed himself from his shadow and call it devil, making the devil the personification of Christ's split-off dark side.
But even Christ showed hints of the other side.
Even Christ showed traces of his original moral ambivalence, like saying, I bring not peace, but a sword.
Right.
From this perspective, the devil can be seen as God's dissatisfaction with himself, a projection of his own doubt, perhaps an urge towards conscious realization, and thereby towards greater wholeness.
So what does this imply about the devil's fundamental role in the grand?
Our sources suggest he's a necessary figure, not just for distinguishing good from evil, but also for making human action and freedom possible. Think about it. Had God not allowed the devil the freedom to rebel, there would potentially be no ego consciousness, no civilization, and no opportunity to transcend the ego through self-realization. Humans in that scenario might have been little more than machine without the capacity for true choice, struggle, or growth.
Freedom requires the possibility of choosing wrongly.
Precisely. Now, the traditional doctrine of the summum bonum, the highest good, states that evil is merely the absence of good, providio bonum.
Jung had issues with that, didn't he?
It deeply tormented Jung. He believed good and evil were more like active locked forces in an eternal duel.
Which led to his answer to Job.
Yes. His controversial book where he explores Satan, who becomes the Antichrist, as a necessary compensation to the light side of God embodied in Christ.
Representing the hidden God.
Representing the Deus Absconditus, the hidden, darker aspect of the divine that lies, Jung argued, in our Western unconscious. The Holy Spirit then acts as an intermediary for mankind's individuation journey towards the self, helping us integrate these disparate parts.
And Jung felt something was missing from the Trinity.
He argued that the missing fourth element represents the feminine, the material, the dark substance, and indeed the devil, all crucial for a complete picture of for wholeness.
Wholeness includes the dark, okay? And there's that fascinating psychological law in entheodromia.
Yes, the law of running towards the opposite.
How does that relate?
Well, Revelation says the devil is locked away for 1,000 years, then must be freed.
Must be.
There's a parallel in Norse mythology with Loki, the trickster god, who is bound but destined to break free and unleash chaos before the world's renewal. Jung explains why the devil, or the opposite, must be free. It's an invariable psychological law.
Things swing back.
Exactly. Life itself is a contest of opposites. Birth and death, health and sickness, good and evil. Conscious attitudes, if they become too one-sided, are inevitably balanced by their unconscious opposites in an attempt to restore psychic wholeness.
Like a pendulum.
Precisely. As William Blake wisely wrote, without contraries is no progression. It's the tension, the dynamic interplay between opposites that drives life and growth.
So what's the profound takeaway here for us? How do we navigate this?
We can potentially master this polarity, or at least navigate it more skillfully, only by contemplating both good and evil, reaching for a middle position maybe on the border between the yin and yang.
Which requires
a profound awareness of the duality of one's nature. It's about holding the tension, acknowledging both sides within ourselves, not just picking one and denying the other exists.
And the consequences of denying this duality, of trying to be purely good.
They can be severe. Psychologically, integration is good, disintegration is evil. When we split ourselves, denying necessary parts of our own nature, including the necessary evil or shadow.
It's like trying to walk on one leg.
Unbalanced, yes.
Right.
And prone to falling. And on a larger scale, our sources show how this kind of splitting, often driven by a belief in absolute purity, has historically led to some truly heinous acts.
Like persecutions, crusades.
Where the evil was entirely projected onto others. John of Revelation, who strove intensely to lead a pure and saintly life, saw his visions filled with compensatory brutal collisions with opposites.
So even seeking ultimate purity can bring forth its shadow.
It highlights that possibility. God, in this complex view, has a terrible double aspect. A sea of grace, yes, but also a seething lake of fire. The message becomes, we must love God, but perhaps we must also fear him, acknowledging the vast, paradoxical, and sometimes terrifying nature of the divine and of exist self.
Wow. We've taken a truly profound journey today, haven't we? Delving deep into the psychology of the devil.
We certainly have.
And what we've uncovered suggests, really, that good and evil aren't absolute not entirely separate.
But perhaps more like halves of a paradoxical whole.
Right. And realizing this, truly internalizing it, can maybe turn that inner conflict into a kind of helping us experience reality as it truly is and unite with our whole self.
Indeed. Though it's important to remember that complete self-realization, perfect wholeness, is likely an unattainable ideal.
A direction, not a destination.
Exactly. As Jung stressed, there is no psychic wholeness without imperfection. It's perhaps far better and more realistic to know that one isn't perfect and to learn to live with sin, meaning our imperfections, our shadow, while still striving consciously for a virtuous life.
Like Faust finding happiness in the striving and the progress.
Precisely. It's about the journey, the constant engagement, not achieving some static state of perfection.
So for you, our listener, the devil isn't just some abstract figure in old books.
No.
Our deep dive reveals he represents a real and serious psychological phenomenon. Temptations, his pull towards division and despair can lead to meaning.
Or, paradoxically, grappling with that dark can drive us towards individuation, towards greater wholeness.
Without this God-opposing will, perhaps, just perhaps, there might have been no creation, no consciousness, and maybe even no work of salvation.
It's a challenging thought. And finally, maybe leave you with 2 thoughts on the devil's most profound tricks.
Okay.
First, the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist.
Denying the shadow altogether.
Right. And the second greatest trick.
What's that?
Convincing the world he is the good guy, making evil look attractive, reasonable, even necessary.
Wow. Food for thought. Consider what that means for your own journey of self-discovery and how you engage with both the light and the shadow within yourself.